to
The Zak
and Buzz
Review.
So I went to the cinema to go and see Blade Runner 2049 as part of Sci-Fi
I
season.
would never have guessed it.
Really?
Back into the cinema.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah, me with my funky unlimited card.
Who would have guessed?
And it was a really, really good experience. I had watched, obviously, Blade Runner not too long ago, so it was all on the expectation for the sequel.
Yes,
and it certainly delivered.
I mean, obviously we've seen it on Blu-ray.
We've seen it
Did we go
over
to
the
the cinema
years.
when it was originally
I don't think
released?
so, no. But now we can.
But now we can, but we've seen it obviously on Blu-ray.
Yes.
I didn't go.
No, you didn't go.
No, I couldn't
So what
make
do you
it.
remember of it? Did you like it?
I remember the chap who plays the Joker.
Jared Leto.
He was being the guy from the company. Which,
Wallace.
Yeah, what's the company? Oh, I can't remember.
Tyrell.
Tyrell
The
Corporation.
Tyrell type of guy.
Corporation. Was
So-
he not Tyrell in this one?
No,
he
no, he's Wallace.
He's Wallace.
He took over from Tyrell
Right.
with his efforts in synthetic farming to
Right.
feed the populace.
Which is why it starts off them going. The Blade Runner, the guy who's the lead character.
Kay,
Yeah,
who then becomes Joe.
He goes off to one of those farms. Doesn't
He does.
He goes off to take on Dave Bautista.
Who's Sapper Morton?
Is he?
Zappa Morton?
Is
Yeah,
he? Well, there you go.
that's the name. It's a really cool name.
Yeah.
Sapper Morton, that's it.
And yeah, so I remember that.
And that intro fight scene just grips you immediately. It's very atmospheric on the lead up to that, and then obviously it all kicks off, and it's like, jeez, okay, no holds barred in this one.
Well, that's the thing, because the whole premise on this one is that it pans out the stories that Deckard and obviously Rachel
Have
Gone
gone
off.
into hiding.
gone off at the end of Blade Runner after 6 different cuts.
Seven.
Different recap. 7 different cuts of the film. They eventually get out of the lift.
Yes.
Maybe get in the hover car and disappear down a valley. Something happens, and
There we are.
it turns out. Am I allowed spoilers on this?
Of course you can. It's been out since 2017. Of course you can.
Turns out, she's been buried beneath a tree, hasn't she?
Yes. Yes.
But she's had a baby.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which is described as a miracle.
A miracle baby. And then obviously the hunt is on to try and find out what the baby is, and also
Because they obviously want to replicate that process.
and they also want to find where Deckard is.
Yes.
Yes.
Because he'll obviously know where the child is.
And he's obviously living out in a bit of a sort of derelict cityscape, isn't he?
Yeah, it kind of looks a bit like Vegas, to be
Yeah.
honest.
What was interesting is the fact that in the original one you had that kind of, oh, is he or isn't he, being a Blade Runner, is he or isn't he a simulant? And replicant, sorry.
That's Red Dwarf.
Simulant, okay. Oh, actually, no, isn't simulant also aliens?
They're synthetic.
Synthetic humanoids, all right. It all gets a bit confusing these days. Anyway, so they have one of those as a Blade Runner, and he has to keep coming back to the what do you call it, HQ,
LAPD.
and having a sort
Baseline
of
test.
baseline test,
Which kind of took over from that Voight Kampf test from
Yeah.
the original, which
Yeah.
I found quite
Well, I
interesting.
think the Voight Kampf test was there to design to try and track down. Say it again.
Replicants.
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 It says it's like the first thing that pops up on screen when you put the
Replicants.
movies in. Replicants.
I know, I'm sad, but that's why I like watching the movies again, because I watch it once and I forget about it.
Great, you can watch Blade Runner 7 times.
So anyway, so they got the fact that he is a Blade Runner.
Yes.
And there's a lady character in it who's also a replicant, isn't there?
Yeah, the
the
kind of helper for Wallace.
Wallace, who also
her name's Love. Her name's Love.
and she kind of wants to prove that she's the best,
Yeah.
doesn't she? Overall,
She kicks ass. She's
Yeah.
bad, but she kicks ass.
But the thing is, as I say, go back to what I was saying. It was always like the fans were, is Deckard a replicant or not? I always reckon he wasn't. Yeah, right from the beginning. For one of the main reasons is the fight with Rutger Hauer, or should I say Roy Batty. He just doesn't physically have any kind of physical power, is he? He doesn't even want to face him face to face in a fight.
No.
Even Pris, who is basically as they call a basic leisure model.
Pleasure model.
Yeah, okay, pleasure, leisure, whatever.
Both the same.
But she obviously is very acrobatic.
Yep.
But in that sequence, again, he doesn't seem like he's got any physical strength to fight against a basic model replicant.
yeah. He's getting beaten up left, right, and centre by even Leon.
Exactly. Oh, poor Leon.
He didn't get a dislocated finger for Leon.
He gets a dislocated finger for Pris. He gets a dislocated finger for
Zora.
And Leon left off the
Nothing,
list.
sorry.
We don't care about Leon. He cocked everything up when he left his photographs back in the
Ouch.
hotel. So, yeah, poor old Leon, not a mention.
That is savage.
But anyway, so back to the movie. Obviously, that's the premise of it, that they're trying to find this child.
Yes.
And it's great to see Harrison Ford
It
back
is,
in it.
but that's the thing. I remember the promotion for this film. Harrison Ford was all over it, and he doesn't really come into it until the last hour.
No, because it really is.
It really is that gradual build-up, this slow discovery of events. And obviously, the main character, Kay, Joe, he actually thinks he is the child because of the memory implants that he's been implanted in his brain. He's like, wait, what is real? He's questioning reality.
Because he has his own kind of, wouldn't call it simulant, but he has his own
hologram.
AI hologram.
Yeah.
That he's trying to
He gets an emanator for, so he can take her along.
Take her along with that.
But obviously, there's a very developed love interest there, which then unfortunately kind of goes downhill.
Well, it kind of, for me, that
which is quite heartbreaking.
That bit in it kind of has that kind of reminiscence of Cherry 2000. You know, because he himself is in love with something which is completely AI. You know,
and that is the thing. It does bring into question what is it to be human, and to get so attached to something that is essentially just a bit of technology, ones and zeros, as stated in the film. And there is that emotional connection to the audience there, especially when
we do.
The emanator gets destroyed. It's like the person has actually died, but it's just an AI. Yes.
Well, you say just an AI, but we live in an age when you look at these movies, the original Blade Runner was set in 2019.
Yes.
You know, and I watched that when it first came out of the cinemas back in 1982, and that was the far future.
Yeah.
And it was like, is this what the far future is going to be like? And of course, now we're in 2024.
Yeah.
And we're already getting major runaway AI systems where people are trying to rein it back in, and they've had instances of AI systems that might be sparking their own kind of
sentience,
and it's going to happen.
It's a worrying thought.
No, but it's going to. Well, you say worrying. It depends, because if you end up creating, or if you want to use that term, an AI self-aware intelligence, and you've managed to stick that into some kind of android,
a physical thing,
form, that can interact with humans, looking the same as a human. It doesn't mean necessarily that's a bad thing. I mean, obviously everybody loves a good movie where they want to take over the world and destroy all humans and all the rest of it.
That's a very black and white approach to it.
We are actually living in the real world in this kind of Blade Runner
type scenario
already.
And these are very questions. These questions are raised in this film, especially does Kay have a soul?
Yeah.
Because he wasn't born, he was actually
that's right.
created.
And there are.
Or it was Inception Day. That's it. That's what they use.
There's all sorts of ethical kind of dilemmas in it that spark. I think spark a conversation. But maybe that's the great thing about Blade Runner, the original movie, and then this one, which I'm pleased to say, they kept the same kind of music score.
They did.
The same
feel,
the same look. It's like stepping out of the first movie.
To witness that in the cinema was fantastic.
To step out the first movie into the second movie, because that's set how far? That's 2049.
That's 2019, 2029, 39.
30 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, which isn't a great time gap, 30 years. But 30 years, I mean, look at where we are now in 2024. If you go back to, say, 1994, we didn't have mobile phones. Proper, not like we have them now. I don't think we had the internet like you have access now. I don't think
looking at that difference, just
30 years,
visually,
30 years.
Obviously, from the first one to the second one, you've had the AI advancements from the Wallace Corporation, and obviously all these holograms everywhere. There's hologram promotion, whereas in the other ones you had just screens, massive big screens.
Eat a pill.
Enjoy Coca-Cola.
Enjoy Coca-Cola. Well, I presume they do the same things these days, but it's when you get a company that sponsors a film, that's why they get these kind of
course.
I don't know if you notice you probably didn't notice, you will now, but again on the buildings you had things like Pan Am.
Pan Am, what's that?
I knew he wouldn't know. Pan Am was a major airline at the time.
Oh, right.
So it has Pan Am, which doesn't exist don't think it exists anymore, Pan Am, but that was obviously a contributor to the film.
I noticed
because of the advertising.
I noticed that Atari was in both of them.
Oh, there you go, Atari, but
Atari
Pan Am,
games, yeah.
and so there you go, things change. But 30 years,
yeah.
it might sound a lot, but in technology terms, it really can rush ahead. So heaven knows where we're going to be in the 30 years from now.
As a whole, I would say that Blade Runner 2049 is slightly more complex than the first one.
Would you say you needed to see the first one to enjoy the second one?
It kind of explains it.
Does it? Yeah, but does it hold up as a movie on its own if you've never seen the first one?
I don't think so.
I think you've got to be familiar with the first one.
Yeah, you've got to be familiar with the style, because otherwise it could be a bit jarring.
Yeah, I mean, you could watch it.
Yeah.
But I think you really do need to be a Blade Runner.
Watch the first one as a prequel.
Yeah.
To just find out how it got to this point.
Yeah, because otherwise you might get lost on the story a little bit.
Yeah, I think that is definitely the case, especially if you're going in like first time viewing. Definitely watch the first one first.
Do you think that considering I think Blade Runner the original movie must be the most cut movie, and like it's got 7 different cuts.
Yeah.
That you can watch. How many we got?
We've got 5.
We've got 5 cuts of it.
I am not sure that the other 2 cuts are actually available. They haven't been released at all. Okay, but we have 5.
But we look out for them. I mean, we can keep our fingers crossed. The thing is, it's such a popular thing. It's an iconic movie these days.
It's a cult movie.
Yeah,
it's a phenomenon.
It's a phenomenon.
It's got a massive following.
And they brought this second movie out. Do you think that this franchise therefore could push for a 3rd movie?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think what it needs to do is go off world.
Yeah.
Go off world.
Do you know, that's kind of where I was going to go.
That's what it needs. I think that's what it needs.
There's a kind of a little chat about some again fan base. They kind of combine this with Alien and that universe.
We've discussed that in the previous review.
Because of the replicants being off world, and they talk about they get that big ship comes across the screen in Blade Runner saying, "Go to the off world colonies."
That is a massive point. Didn't we meet somebody in the cinema for the screening of the first Blade Runner film?
Oh, yes.
That said that Sulaco was in Blade Runner 2049.
Did you keep an eye out for it?
I remembered it when I saw what could be discerned as Sulaco shapes came on screen. It was kind of parked.
Well,
it was kind of the spiky front.
Oh yeah, it's got all like the antennas.
It's there's kind of got this big dam set up with the waves crashing against it.
Yeah, that's near the end, isn't it? That's where the final...
They show it earlier on.
Isn't that where they crash in the water?
They do crash in the water at the end. But it's when he's driving kind of along there, kind of midway through the film, you do see a Sulaco-shaped ship.
Interesting.
But...
Is it?
Is it? It requires a second watch.
Because we had this discussion, this guy, or a couple of chaps were saying that the Sulaco ship was in Blade Runner 2049. If it's a tenuous thing, I don't know. I can see how the two universes would meld together.
It's a similar homage to, do you remember the remake of The Thing, which is a prequel?
Yeah, obviously.
And you see apparently you see
John Carpenter's Thing you're talking about, yeah?
The remake prequel to that.
The prequel to that one,
yeah.
Right, okay.
You apparently see the alien queen's head in the ice. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, we stopped the.
It's a is it or isn't it type of thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's more akin to those lines than an actual confirmed thing.
I mean, I think there's a term for that, and I can't think of what it's. Oh, it's where you think you see. The human brain wants to see something.
Yeah.
In something. And I can't remember what the terminology is. You guys out there watching this, you probably know what I'm talking about. But it's when the human brain sees something. It's not when people see,
faces on rocks.
The faces on rocks, or a piece of toast, or in chicken breasts where they think they've seen E.T. buying a packet of chicken.
That was actually a thing. Check out the podcast for that.
Check out the news. There was a woman who bought some chicken breast and it looked like E.T.'s face.
I did not expect to get to E.T. chicken for Blade Runner 2040.
It's still sci-fi.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Still sci-fi. So you get those sort of tenuous connections. But anyway, it's an interesting concept to kind of think that perhaps they could be linked.
I think this is to be honest, a perfect sequel to Blade Runner.
Yeah,
I
remember watching
no problems with it, especially on a rewatch.
First time I saw this, I was impressed with the fact that it just felt like you were stepping from one film into the second film, and nothing had changed within the world building. Yeah, it felt you were in the same world, hadn't suddenly changed totally, and that I loved that for that. You know, the fact that they kept that total homage to the original.
Yeah, and it did explore obviously different things with it,
So,
which is fantastic.
question has to be 1 to 10. 10 being absolutely amazing, and 10 being absolutely amazing, and 1 being, where does this one come?
10. I
10
mean, come
is a 10.
on. That is of modern movies, it becomes increasingly so hard for a film to really stand out, to be so good, based upon everything else that's churned out.
Oh yeah.
This does stand above quite a lot.
Yeah, I think.
And I really do like this film.
It's a gem. It's
a gem of a film.
We're going to pop it back on the shelf. There we go.
On Friday, it is the opening day of Dune Part 2.
It is.
By Denis Villeneuve, who did that film.
He made Blade Runner 2049.
Yes.
Right.
And Dune Part 1.
Right.
Do you prefer Blade Runner 2049 or Dune Part 1?
Blade Runner 2049.
I would say exactly the same thing, but I do have high hopes for Dune Part 2.
So, just a brief mention on Dune. It's because I'm so familiar with the original Dune, and I know.
Are you talking about the book or the movie?
The movie.
Okay, the David Lynch one.
Where they called them the Harkonnens.
Yeah.
And then in the new movie, they're the Harkonnens.
Harkonnens.
And it's like, I can't get used to them saying Harkonnens.
I mean, to be honest, I'm more used to them being ginger, to be honest, with the eagle pants.
Yeah, you can't. Sting with his winged pants, you can't be
It's just needed. You know?
Anyway, we're going to go and see that, and we're going to do a review on it. So
awesome, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel, and comment below any suggestions of further reviews you'd like to see.
Okay, time to go and buy a replicant snake, I think.